Well, I've got 7. What's it say here? 6:58. Oh, we got a couple minutes. Yeah. Well, everybody's here. Good. Okay. Well, I know it's maybe a couple minutes before 7, but I think we'll get started tonight. We have not necessarily a long agenda, but it might take us a while to get through it. So I think we should get started. So just before we begin our council meeting, I would ask council and our guests that are in attendance, if you so wish, we'll take a moment of reflection. Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll call the September 18th council meeting of the municipality of West Perth to order. The first item up is the acceptance of the agenda as it was circulated towards the end of last week, moved by Councillor Bink, seconded by Councillor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda tonight? If you find it, as I say, if you find you're treading in hot water as we get along through the meeting, you can always declare it at that time. We do have 3 items on the consent agenda. Is there anything there that anybody would like clarified or a little more explanation on it or pulled and dealt with separately? Okay, seeing none, then a motion would be in order that we accept the consent agenda items 4.1 and 4.2 for information, as well as the minutes of the September 5th, 2023 regular meeting. Do we have a movement seconder for that? Councillor Harold and Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed? Any? That's carried. All right, we do have a couple delegations here tonight. The first delegation with regards to the land acknowledgement, and we have Elder Megan Henry. Did I do that okay? Good. And Kevin George is not here tonight. He sends his regrets. And Charlotte Johnson is also here, who also has some Mitchell connections, I understand. So Jesse, do you want to do a brief introduction? Remember I said brief, right? Yes.
I thought you said 45 minutes. No,
that's for my follow-up.
So I am Jesse Britton. I'm currently the chair of the Heritage and Culture Committee. I am excited and honored to introduce our guests and speak for a moment about the proposed land acknowledgement. Back in 2019, when the Heritage and Culture Committee started to draft the West Perth land acknowledgement, we sought to work collaboratively with First Nations communities in a way that was honoring, taking the time necessary to pursue truth as we moved towards reconciliation. Our approach was having a land acknowledgement without careful thought and consideration and collaboration had the potential to be worse than having no land acknowledgement at all. It was the committee's recommendation that the next step of this process, after submitting the report to council, was for a formal invitation to be extended to Chief Megan Henry. When we reached out to Chippewas of the Kettle and Stony Point First Nations, they felt Chief Henry was a great person to help us if he was willing, and we were thankful that he did and was. He and our other guest, Charlotte Johnson, were both instrumental in the development of our land acknowledgement. I acknowledge that when we started this process, none of us had any particular set of skills, experience, or qualifications to develop a land acknowledgement, but we did have a desire to do it right, not just for the sake of checking a box, but in hopes of a better tomorrow for our community, for the First Nations who we share this beautiful land with. Tonight, I would ask you to listen to our guests and welcome them as friends. I would hope that after you've had some time to consider what a land acknowledgement means, that you would accept the land acknowledgement that was proposed last October. And with that said, I would like to invite Chief Henry to come and speak.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. On this evening, I'd like to share that we've spent a considerable amount of time looking at ways of developing a really good understanding of reconciliation It's been a few years since COVID, and we got a chance to meet some of the members of your community, Jesse in particular, who really brought to light something that I think has been a really guiding purpose for us to participate in your community tonight. We're actually connected quite well. The river that's just the other side the lights over here, the Thames River, the traditional name of the river is Deshkanzibi. And if we translate it into English, it would be Antler River, because if you fly above in a helicopter and looked at the river, and you'd see all the different parts of that river, looks just like an antler. And the indigenous people of this land had always referred it to be a part of our well-being. The life that we have in this region really relied on the life of the fish in that river and the water itself, so that we can have sustenance. Tonight, we have been just honored to come and join you, because the work that we've been doing in, as you see throughout Canada, land acknowledgements and understanding of Indigenous people has taken a different road. I think the 215 children that they found in BC a number of years ago awakened Canada's conscience about maybe thinking about the history of the relationship between the settlers and Indigenous people. And I think we've come to a stage in our history now that allows us to have a freestanding relationship with each other to build a better future for all of us. There's a generation that's being born right now. And I work at the University of Waterloo, so I've been listening and sharing some knowledge with them. And they're saying that we need to do some changes to how our system operates in Canada, because our elders, and given them all the attention and honor that they provided, seem to fall into a standstill for a while. And we stopped kind of recognizing the importance of building reconciliation within this country. And then those children kind of reawakened us once again. And now we're at the threshold of building a great future for all residents of Canada, just like the original treaties, and especially treaties in this region, had really promoted when they were signed by both sides. And so when I think about how we can move forward together in friendship and honor of each other's understandings, I think this is the prime time to become aware of each other's community, to grow together, and to build more opportunities for our future. So today, as we celebrate this new equinox that's coming up on the 23rd, it's a time of building a brand new vision for our partnerships, our friendships, and living on what we consider the most sacredness, this land that we all live on. We all know the history. We're all aware of residential schools. We're aware of 60 Scoop. We're aware of all the disparities that we've seen in Canada as it pertains to Indigenous people. But we can linger on that for a long time, because there's a lot of stories that go with residential schools. But I think it would be very beneficial to take this opportune moment to think about our future together, to build a relationship. And my nation, as chief of my nation, I was able to let our council, our community members know that our success depends on your success, and how we deliver a true friendship to allow ourselves to explore the beautiful land that we are on right now. And when I heard about the want to build a land recognition statement, I believe that it was an opening door. And as the few years have gone by and we've come to this point, I believe that when people travel through the communities here in this region and they see a land acknowledgement, they know that you've done the work to try to build allyship and friendship and understand the history as much as we can. And I really believe that it helps people to feel that comfort of knowing that the original people of this land has been honored by virtue of this community recognizing it through land acknowledgement. I know land acknowledgement are just words that begin a conversation. And I realize that there is more conversation to be had. So I think maybe as a starting point to build within this community an authentic and well documented land acknowledgement, it opens the doors for inviting you to our community, to our social functions, to our gatherings, and to get to know our community as much as we'd like to know your community. It's really important now that we take on this role. We're all aware of politics today. We're all aware of the hardship that takes place within those types of relationships. But I think for us to do well for our children and our grandchildren is to model a good set of values and friendships that I think can exist if we'd like it to. We've had a history of challenges, Kettle Point and Stony Point. You're totally aware of Ripperwash, I'm sure, and some of the other unhealthy incidents that took place right on the lands here that we are on today. It has a history, and it has a dedication to those that live on top of it. We call it our mother. We call it Mother Earth in our language, Mazakmikwe. And when we talk about Mazakmikwe, or Mother Earth, she's still giving us life. And all your farmers in this region live day to day for the honor of this Mother Earth providing the corn, soy, and all the resources that we have. And I think that could be our link if we want it to be, a link of building cooperation, friendship, and honor for generations to come. So it's a really important time that we start this process, and not with just this community, but throughout all communities here in Canada. It's far, past due that we develop a good relationship. It wasn't that long ago the last residential school closed in Canada. We're still feeling the effects of those days. And if you look at the relative index of living standard in Canada, you'll find that Canada has been rated about the second or third best place in the world to live. But when you use that same index on First Nation communities in Canada, we rank 63rd. So the reason I'm asking that we acknowledge this is because we can close that gap together. And really that's what our target should be, to find equality in this country for all that live on this beautiful land and have an ability to grow together. Once we close that gap, then you'll see more Indigenous people, attending post-secondary and getting into buildings, that's going to be concrete for all of us to grow. And really that was my purpose as being chief of my nation, is to go and try to connect communities and build friendships so that we can understand each other even more and more. Because in this spot where we stand today, there's been historical, monumental activity in this region, even with the graves that are in this region. We have ancestors who are in this region. So we want to honor it just as much as I think you want to honor your community. But now we can do that together, and not hiding the fact that this country has dedicated itself. And I can tell you it's true. The people and citizens of this country have spoken quite clearly that they'd like to see reconciliation happen. They'd like to see this country move forward with a greater understanding and friendship. And I think we can all move forward in that capacity. So this is kind of why we're here tonight, just to celebrate the work that's been done on the wording that has been developed in the land acknowledgement and how it will be utilized in this community. It's an honor to share this platform. I also think that a little bit of history can be brought in from time to time. We can talk about the treaties that we have in this region, wampum belts, the fact that you would be standing in the United States of America if it wasn't for the Indigenous communities of this region. Because if you know your history, One of our great visionaries had passed away near Chatham, Ontario. His name was Tecumseh. And his understanding and knowledge kept the Americans back to where the border is at Detroit. You'll read in the history books that the British soldiers fought as they could to develop that borderline when Americans were trying to come up here, but they did retreat, and Indigenous people kept the fight on and kept them all the way back to Detroit. So there's a history here that had been skewed quite a bit in the way that we learned it. So Indigenous people now are standing up and sharing what they know about history. So I think maybe going forward would be a chance for us to come and chat with you about the wampum belts, about history, and about building even a stronger relationship. So I'm really excited about that, because we need to start building a better friendship and show and model to this next generation a friendship that is really true, deep-hearted. And really, hopefully, that's kind of the goal that I love to see around the world. And being in this territory, I think that time has come. And I think this is the moment that we can actually start doing that together. So with the amount of time that I have, and I know you're busy tonight, and we'd like to welcome you to our communities. You know, at sometimes we have social gatherings, and we have Jesse came out to our powwow just a couple of weeks ago, and other events that happen. So I think this is starting to happen now, and I'm really proud of that, and being able to come and share what I know with you is really a purpose. Charla, you know, as you mentioned, grew up in this region, and you do have Indigenous people that live in this region. Maybe you weren't aware of them, but sometimes they don't actually identify that way. But there are Indigenous people, and I'm sure that they feel really comfortable in your community. So I got a chance to tour your office, your new office. Congratulations on the hard work of your governance here in this community. And we just like to create this friendship, and vice versa. Come and visit us when you feel the time is right. So with that said, consider the land acknowledgement and how it was brought through consultation with First Nations, and how we worked on it, you know, for a number of years now. And I think it's well done. Jesse and the team that put that together didn't want to just run this through and check box it and say we finally done it. They really took the time and effort to speak with First Nation people and to put their heart into the words that come into that land acknowledgement. So with that said, I'll let you get to your business and take care of the things that you need to. But remember, I feel that I've been treated, and the friendship that I've gained here has been tremendous for me, and I hope to continue with all of you and your community members. So thank you all for allowing me to come and join you tonight. Miigwech.
Good, thank you very much. I think at this time, because it's kind of unique, I think we'll stop and we'll take a picture. And if we can pause maybe for a few minutes here. You want all of council in? Yeah, we can just, if we just move in front of the council table here. Okay, we're back here. Just before our guests leave, I'll open it up. I don't know if anybody has any questions from on council that you'd like to ask. I heard somebody ask you a question earlier tonight, and I think it would be maybe worth explaining to everybody if you wish. And that is the eagle wing, right?
Yeah, it was nice that you asked that question because you'll notice within Indigenous items, we carry them for specific reasons. And tonight I bring the eagle feather that actually was a resident in this region. You might be aware of a guy named Brian Salt from Mount Bridges who rehabilitates animals. And when he does, sometimes when an animal has to go down, they'll let us know. And if it's like an eagle or a hawk, they'll let us know because we still utilize these things in special form. So our understanding is that the eagle flies the highest in the sky. And in our way, we feel that our creator who's created this earth sends messages on the wing of the eagle. It brings it back to our people. And the stories that come from that are we're able to tell our children. So I bring different items that I carry with me, and the eagle feather is just an honorable piece of friendship. And if you're ever given an eagle feather because of good friendship or a good deed that you ever done, it's one of the highest honors that Indigenous people can bestow on anybody. So I really think these feathers and items that we have, we've been able to recover the beautiful stories and history behind them. So I appreciate asking about the eagle feather.
Thank you. Anybody else, any questions at this time? Okay. Deputy Mayor Trukowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. But maybe more of a comment, Chief Henry. You made mention of Chief Tecumseh during the War of 1812, and that resonates with me quite strongly. And you're quite correct that Canada wouldn't be Canada if it wasn't for the cooperation between the natives and the British at the time to defend against the Americans. And I think it would be good to. You talked about friendship and developing relationships, and there was common cooperation between the two peoples at that time. And it's important to, I guess, relearn what happened in the past in order to go forward together in the future. It's the Battle of Moraviantown. Very few people know what happened there and the sacrifices that were made, as well as the Queenston Heights and other places. So appreciate you reminding everyone of that, and we look forward to developing more of the same friendship in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. If there's no further questions, thank you again very much for coming. Good. Okay, moving on. Our second delegation is probably needs no introduction. It's from the Economic Development, Tourism and Transportation from Perth County. And so we'll let you folks come on up. This isn't your first time here with the new council, I don't believe. So I think you're probably familiar with everybody. So Maggie, you're going first, are you? Good.
We'll open things up.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good.
Awesome. So through your worship, good evening, West Perth Council. We're joining you this evening to provide our September edition of our Perth County Economic Development, Tourism and Transportation biannual update. So we joined you last on April 3rd to provide an overview of some of our objectives that were planned for the summer. We're now very excited to be with you all tonight to share all that we accomplished this very quick summer that just flew by. So next slide, please. Or do we have? Awesome, thank you. So before we get into our individual areas of focus or expertise, I'm just happy to report on two very unique events that our department hosted this past summer. So our first notable event was our Full House Tour. So on June 15th, in partnership with the Perth Huron Builders Association and our municipal partners, we hosted a self-guided housing tour, which showcased 5 different property types that are available in our area. And we ended with a social reception right here in your beautiful 1-year-old building. So the purpose of this event was to educate and increase awareness of the variety of different housing options that exist and can be developed here in Perth County, which ended with a fun poker run, which many of you here were able to participate in. So the event was a proven success with 100% of our post-event survey participants saying that the event was very or extremely informative. Our second initiative that's shown up on the screen here is our free mystery farm hop tour. So on July 8th, our team in partnership with the PCFA and the OFA hosted a mystery farm hop event, which provided our participants with the unique opportunity to explore 4 local farms and their operations. So our participants were welcomed aboard on PC Connect, where they were chauffeured from farm to farm and provided with a full itinerary that immersed them into a fun and unique agricultural experience, engaging them with farm animals, sampling local products, and learning more about the agricultural operations that take place in their very own backyards. Next slide, please. So within 24 hours of organically launching our event, the Mystery Farm Hop sold out, and to our pleasure, welcomed many diverse participants from different cultural backgrounds, ages, and social economical status. We were absolutely blown away by the response that we received from our participants, such as the very touching feedback shown on the screen in front of you, where Najma, a Perth County resident who has immigrated from India, shares the impact that the event had on her and her family and friends. Through this event and through further conversations with Najma, we're provided with a new lens to DEI initiatives. Najma emphasized her sincere appreciation for the Farm Hop as a diverse and inclusive event, because rather than hosting a DEI event that celebrated their culture, the Mystery Farm Hop created a space where they were welcomed into our Canadian culture with open arms, providing them with lived experiences to relate to and share with other residents of Perth County, which in turn really helps them to grow roots and create a sense of belonging here in Perth County. Our goal was to really host an inclusive event that celebrated our rural agriculture with little to no barriers for participation. However, the extent of our impact far exceeded our expectations. We're forever grateful for the communities we had reached and learned from through this Farm Hop event, and we look forward to hosting many more impactful, inclusive events in the future. With that, I'll pass it over to Justin to update on economic development.
Thanks, Maggie. So in terms of our economic development programming, so the first thing I wanted to touch on was our digital service squad. So as a reminder, this is our fully funded human resource, our digital service squad team member who helps businesses across Perth County with digital assistance. So anything from website assistance, social media assistance, helping businesses get online, stay online, sell online, and calls online. So anything to do with digital, our digital service squad provides those services free of charge. And we'll do so through to March 31st, 2024, when funding ends. So I encourage all businesses to continue to reach out to our DSS. This summer, we were pushing very hard with the upcoming digital transformation grant deadline on September 30th. Digital transformation grant, again, is a $2,500 grant for business to help them implement, just plan and implement a digital transformation plan for their business. So I've been really pleased to see 9 Perth County businesses access the funding so far, and we continue to work with a number of businesses, including those in West Perth here, to help them get over the last final step of the application process and hopefully see a few more successful West Perth applicants. So I wanted to remind businesses of the September 30th deadline, but also remind them that the Digital Service Squad services continue on March 24. So please do reach out and let our team help your business access the grant and continue to help your digital needs. Next slide, please. So in terms of our business expansion program, so our business leaders are really a critical part of this program. Over the summer, we
Welcome to Benshaw, Canada, everybody.
A very successful summer of business tours. So we toured 2 businesses in West Perth, Viagra-Mix in Mitchell here, and also Black Diamond Brewing. Through these tours, like both in West Perth and across Perth County, we were able to engage 75 stakeholder participants to come on the tours. Really great opportunities to provide insight to municipal council staff, our community partners, business support organizations, about what goes on behind the four walls of some of the key businesses here across West Perth and Perth County. Opportunity to meet the management teams, opportunity to make some connections with funding partners, and really uncover those opportunities that exist here in Perth County for our workers, for the next generation. So in addition to the tours, we've had a photographer, videographer accompanied us, producing some videos that'll showcase to those who weren't on the tour, again, what goes on, the opportunities that exist in Perth County, and really showcase our Perth County businesses to a much wider audience. So I look forward to launching those videos soon, as well as continue to have other tours across the county. And we've also already uncovered some West Perthers who are eager to have us come for a tour next year. So a really successful summer of tours, and I look forward to coming back to West Perth with more tours coming forward. So an additional part of our business retention expansion program is and also one of the outcomes of those tours were a really expressed desire from the businesses, community partners, councils, staff to education as well, to really form and reform some of those relationships that might have been lost through COVID, through some networking opportunities. So to that end, we're having a couple of networking opportunities. We're calling business industry and education after hours, one here in West Perth, Mitchell on Wednesday, and then again Listowel on October the 4th. Again, really great opportunity to bring businesses, educators, skills development, community partners, education, employment, government of all levels together to just really create some of those connections that might have been lost for COVID. As well as there's lots of new business leaders who really benefit from making those connections with our employers, with our school folks, co-op teachers, and things like that. So please join us on Wednesday if you can. Again, it's golf course from 4 to 7 p.m. It's a drop-in. Stay as long as you can, have a drink, some snacks, and make some connections. And we hope that you can join us again on Wednesday or in the school as well. And then kind of the final piece of the BR&E puzzle is that active feedback that we've gained from our businesses through surveys. So our business retention expansion survey for 2023 is currently making its way through Canada Post mailing system, and it will be hitting all business and farm addresses across the county. And this survey is really different than other surveys we've done in the past. So and that other organizations do, this is not a small sample survey to kind of get a picture of the larger economic picture for the county. It's really focused on individual business. So there are some general questions, but primarily we're interested in finding out what are the business retention expansion needs of our businesses, and how can Perth County use economic development, tourism, bring the resources of people to the table to help that business solve that retention or expansion challenge or opportunity. So if you do receive a survey in the mail, please do complete it. There's a business supply envelope. Drop it in local mailbox and it'll come back to us confidentially, as well as it's also available online. So keep an eye out in your mailbox for that, or survey online, and really give us, this is really a good starting point for us, conversation to have with businesses, find out what their needs are. And again, it might be that they're interested in a business tour, we can look at doing that in the future, or if they're interested in finding out resources for the workers, we can direct that. So really a great opportunity for us to find and build, start conversation with our local business community. And then finally for me, our workforce development program. So I recently launched our workforce attraction retention employer toolkit, which is a partnership between ourselves and Stratford. And today we've had 70 users across Perth County who have registered to use that. So businesses, organizations, as well as other municipalities registered to access the toolkit, find out about those retention and attraction best practices, download a policy or a template that they can adapt and use in their own business. And I mentioned that we've had lots of interest from other municipalities who are also struggling with this workforce attraction and challenge. So to that end, we've been asked to share the toolkit and present it at a couple of different forums. So one being the MAFRA Community of Practice, as well as Ontario's Workforce Development Conference in the end of October. So great resource for local business, getting some attention across the province, and look forward to continuing to share and refine that and add to that resource to help our businesses implement those best practices. So that's it for me. I'll pass it over to Ashley.
Thanks. Push this button here. So as you'll read in your update, Perth County's experiential tourism program is up to 14 active signature experiences, and 3 of those were newly launched throughout summer 2023. We're really happy with the continuous growth of this program, and it's a great testament to just how much there is to do in Perth County. This program is a key element in our efforts to increase the number of visitors coming to our rural region each year. In the same spirit, our Discover More Flavor farm gate map has grown to 85 participating farm locations, 18 of which are located right here in West Perth. These farms are promoted through our updated digital farm gate map, themed farm gate itineraries, roadside signage, much of which has been updated this summer, social media coverage, print media, and beyond. It was a really busy summer engaging with Perth County destinations and tourism operators with over 114 visits to businesses across the county to distribute promotional material, collect marketing material, hear from business owners, and more. We also continue to grow cycle tourism in our rural region with the launch of a new cycle route map, enhanced cycle web pages, strategic partnerships with local cycle events, and trail support efforts. To date, we have distributed over 3,200 copies of the new Stratford, Perth County, and St. Mary's cycle route map that launched this spring. This map has proved to be very popular, with many cyclists requesting copies of the hard copy map. To encourage use of the digital assets, we've enhanced all of our signature Ride with GPS maps to include stops along the route. These are available in printable itinerary style PDFs on our website, as well as on apps that cyclists can send directly to their phone or mapping device they use while riding. These efforts fall under key direction number 3 to locate and add amenities, service, and signage for cyclists, and key direction number 4 to increase the promotion of cycle tourism in Perth County from Perth County's cycle tourism strategy. As the official destination marketing organization for Perth County, we continue to market our region as a top travel destination in Ontario. We do this through a wide variety of marketing channels throughout the year, with notable efforts throughout 2023, including widespread coverage on the Ontario Culinary website and social media pages, a feature in CBC London's Summer Road Trip series, substantial coverage in the Globe and Mail's Explore Ontario summer and fall inserts, distribution of promotional posters and brochures throughout the region, and website enhancements on our own website, including the launch of a brand new bakery trail featuring 12 Perth County bakeries. Social media marketing has proven to be a very effective way to attract visitors and promote Perth County's rural tourism destinations. The tourism social media channels saw substantial growth in our following, reach, and engagement throughout summer 2023. In addition to our own in-house content creation, these increases are also owed to strategic influencer partnerships. Staff have received very positive feedback on the ROI from featured Perth County businesses and destinations on these partnerships. This sunflower video that's playing on the screen is a really good example of how this works. This video was created in partnership with Curated KW for digital creators with pages on Instagram and TikTok. The video they created here at Cadillac Sunflower Field in Atwood has received over 354,000 views. This year, the owner of Cadillac Farms asked each guest where they had heard about her sunflower field walk, and she reported to us that more visitors than not had heard about it through this video. This helps prove the impact that strategic social media marketing can have on our local business community. And with that brief overview of our latest destination development and destination marketing efforts, I will pass it over to Maggie for an update on PC Connect.
Awesome. So in terms of PC Connect, the service does continue to grow in terms of reach and ridership, continuing to alleviate barriers that previously stood between our residents getting to work, healthcare, education, social services, and simply visiting friends and family. Since launch, our PC Connect service has serviced over 24,000 rides, and just in the last 12 months, ridership has grown by 105%. In order to continue contributing to this growth trend, we did recently launch significant route enhancements, which included the termination of Route B and the introduction of increased frequency on Route A. We have rebranded Route A to become the rural route, which now operates continuously from 6 a.m. to 7:15 p.m. Monday to Friday, making the service even more convenient and appealing for riders to leverage. And this rural route stops just across the road at the community center and arena there. Our new service changes have been heavily advertised through a series of channels, including social media campaigns, app notifications, newsletters, posters, radio interviews and radio ads, newspapers, Shopportunities, Community Connections, the Quadranet Channel 1, digital screens and billboards, and so much more. And so far, the changes have been very well received, and we're looking forward to monitoring the rural route ridership over the next few months to see how these changes impact ridership. When updating our printed ride guides to reflect our new schedules, we also took the opportunity to simplify and enhance our schedule formatting, and our PC Connect schedules can now be read laterally, which makes it easier for residents to find their departure times in respect to their desired bus stop locations. On June 7th, we also launched our partnership with the PCIN Library Network to offer free library passes. And since launch, in just under 3 months, a total of 551 rides have been completed with the passes. We're extremely pleased with the success of this program, which have proven to further alleviate barriers for leveraging public transportation in our communities. We've also been working on a new marketing campaign that highlights the stories of our riders and how they leverage PC Connect in their everyday lives. The purpose of this campaign, People of PC Connect, is to encourage riders to try PC Connect, as well as emphasize the demand for the service and use these moving, real-life inspired stories to help advocate for long-term funding. The People of PC Connect campaign will be launching this fall in just a few weeks, and we do have a sneak peek available to share with you all this evening. Oh, that's okay.
Getting to class used to be a daily struggle for me, but then I found out about PC Connect. My ride to a better future. No more long walks, no more missed buses. With PC Connect, my journey is my study time. PC Connect isn't just a bus line, it's my path to education, my ride to success.
So this, this People of PC Connect campaign series will also include storylines around healthcare, employment, and connecting riders to family and friends. And we're very extremely excited to be able to tell these stories of our riders on behalf of our riders in efforts to keep the service on the road for the long term. And with that, our update is before you all. We welcome any questions that council may have for us this evening.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our trio here tonight? I have to, just an information thing. As you may or may not be aware, we had a booth at Mitchell Fair, just kind of a, what we call it, a communications booth, I guess, to get feedback. And I was there on the Friday night, and I got asked for the map bicycle tours, you know, and of course here I am. Wow, I don't know where they are. But we got a map for them anyways. And the other comment that I got that night, a positive note, was they had used the PC Connect and were impressed with it. So, you know, it seems to be taking off and working well, but I realize that we have to get a lot more usage, you know, as we carry on. But it certainly has helped, I guess, increasing the number of times it's on that route, hasn't it?
For sure. Yeah, it's a bit early to tell in terms of ridership. It's only been operating for about 2 weeks now, launched December 5th. Time's flying by, but we will have a full ridership report at the end of the month to report back on.
Yeah. Okay, last call. Any questions? No? Okay, very good. Thank you very much for coming. Oh, sorry, there is a question. Sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, through you, great presentation. your department does fantastic work. So by all means, please keep it up. Great exposure for West Perth, but also Perth County. I just, one question, Maggie, would you be able to maybe dive in a little bit on the importance of the long-term funding, maybe highlighting the deadline for the expiry of the original agreement with the province and what we're trying to do moving forward with the long-term goals of PC Connect?
Sure. So through your worship, so our original pilot project through the MTO, it's Community Transportation Grant Program, it was originally slated to end March of 2023. Due to COVID, when we were forced to launch under unprecedented times, they did extend it further to March 31st of 2025. So we did get it some extended funding to get us to that point. However, we will still be running at a deficit our final year in early of 2025. So right now we're looking at an approximate deficit of about 150,000, sorry. But the MTO also did just release an opportunity to request additional funding to get us to the end of 2025. So that report is due at the end of this month, which we will be submitting for some additional funding that we hope to get to keep us out of the deficit. But beyond then, they have not committed to any additional funding past 2025. So our job, we are continuously advocating through every event possible and really bothering the government with continuous outreach, really emphasizing how important the service has been to our communities in hopes that we'll get continued funding. So working really hard with other community transportation grant recipients. We also have a partnership with the Southwestern Community Transit Association, which does a lot of advocating on our behalf as well in hopes to get some continued funding. But again, we're just trying our best to really improve and increase our ridership, improve the demand. And it's also the goal of the People of PC Connect campaign is to really tell those life-changing stories that PC Connect has created. So rural transportation ridership numbers are never going to be equivalent or as impressive as urban transportation services, but the impact that it has on our citizens is much more impactful, you could say. So I'm not sure if that answers your question completely, but
No, that's fine,
we are
Maggie,
continuing to
that's great.
advocate.
Thank you.
Councillor Foster.
What would be West Perth's share of the deficit, like a percentage wise?
Sure. So through your worship,
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, again, thank you very much. Okay, moving on, we do have a planning part lot control application. That's what we have. And Andrea, I'm going to ask you to come up. This is maybe your first time here, is it, Andrea? I don't think.
it is.
Yeah. Okay. So Andrea is our planning manager at the county and has been with us 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, hopefully you get to know Andrea quite well, but so far so good. And she's got a fairly heavy load to say the least. So Andrea, I'll turn it over to you. I know John was supposed to do this tonight, but you're pitch hitting for him. So we appreciate that.
Thank you for the introduction. I actually stole my thunder because I was also going to introduce myself to everyone. So I've been here for about 2 months now. If anyone has any questions, any planning questions that you'd ever like to ask me, I'm always just a phone call away or an email away. I'm happy to answer any questions. So, yes, and John is actually in Perth East tonight. He has a couple of large official plan amendment applications. So he thought that the manager could maybe handle this part law control application. So with that, this application is for part law control, and sorry, I'm going to try to work this. Daniel warned me. Oh, there we go. I don't even have to do it. So this application for part law control, as council may recall, this was approved through a plan of subdivision back in August 2020. And this is just one of the parcels that is being basically split into 7 parts. 4 of the parts are for actual residential lots. And so they're for townhouse units. And I think that actually John has included a picture of them. Yep. So they already are under construction, as you can see. And so basically through part law control application, it'll just make each of the units separately conveyable. And then as you can see with parts 2, 3, and 5, those are to allow for rear yard access simply because we don't think it's a good idea for people to be carrying lawnmowers through there. And, you know, if they're going to build an accessory structure, something like that, carrying the lumber through their houses is a bit inconvenient. So we generally ask developers to add those parts so that they have the rear yard access. And so the application, obviously, it's been issued a building permit. So each of the units are in compliance with the zoning bylaw. And then further separating them also is in compliance with the zoning bylaw. And it continues to honor the official plan as well as is in keeping with the set out proposal for the draft plan subdivision approval. And so with that, we are recommending that this be approved.
Okay, thanks, Andrea. Any questions for Andrea on that plan or part law control? Yes, thank you. No questions, then we do have a recommendation here. And it is that the Council of Municipality of West Perth approve the application by Baker Planning Group for the exemption of part law control on lands described as Plan 44M 85, portion of Block 1, further described as parts 1 to 7 on Plan 44R 6154, Mitchell Ward in the Municipality of West Perth, and forwarded to the County of Perth for approval, and that the approved bylaw be provided to the Municipality of West Perth to be registered on title. We have a mover and seconder for that, Councillor Foster and Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you, Andrew. All right, moving ahead, we don't have anything from the chief building official or fire chief or the head librarian. We do have a report, however, from our operations manager. So Mike, you have the floor.
Well, greetings, Mayor and Council. Hopefully you had an opportunity to read the Nelson Street remedial plan that's before you. I'm going to provide a little bit of additional information specifically for the new council members around the table. So Nelson Street Phase 3 reconstruction was tendered in 2021 in the spring. Prior to that tendering, West Perth and our reconstruction projects, you saw it as a restoration item for grass and lawn repairs versus seeding. Due to issues with the sodding of past projects, council had a little discussion and decided that we would proceed with seeding in our future reconstruction projects versus sodding. In spring 2022, actually in the fall of 2021, the project was delayed and they were unable to do the hydro seeding due to winter onset. In the spring of 2022, we then proceeded to finalize the topsoiling and hydro seeding. Halfway through that project, the subcontractor Edge at that time had a malfunctioning computer chip module in their hydro seeding unit and only got partially the job done. So then they had to wait for the computer module to proceed. That caused 3 weeks of delay. Meanwhile, the temperature changed dramatically on us, and it became extremely warm and hot for almost 6 to 7 weeks straight. So we had issues with the initial hydro seeding passing. It failed. We had meetings. The general contractor agreed to rehydro seed and spray the entire property and the project again. And then it took hold, and it passed the acceptance in the fall of 2022. In the spring of 2023 of this year, we noticed that the boulevards along the east section were starting to burn off due to the early onset of summer versus not having a spring, and it caused stress on the newly planted grass, causing a lot of burn off, and it was very sparse. My staff took it upon myself to purchase some hydro seed. We waited for the weather conditions to be right, and we hand seeded the entire project. The results from that were better than expected, considering the summer that we had, and the amount of rainfall that we had actually assist us in that matter. I'm going to present multiple options that council can choose from tonight. You can choose one, multiple, you can alter, or you can even choose none as an option. So the first option, and I'll explain how I arrived at the price and the costing estimates, is renting a lawn overseeder. And this is to only do the boulevard section along the east side from basically Albert to Eleanor Street. This is the worst section. The cost is for our labor, our rental of the overseeder, and the seed to perform the work. If council does decide that option, the other option with number 2 would be once again asking the residents to assist us in the watering. How do we come up with the $40 per month per resident? This is based on the actual numbers of our trial and pilot project that we did for Henry and Georgina Street this year. The total cost for the month of June and July was $2,000, working out to 25 residents were impacted, creating the bill of an average bill of $80 per month, or per 2 months per resident, or $40 per month. So that is how I came up with $40 per month. It would be our cost if we asked the residents to water if we did option number 1. Option number 3 is us doing the watering in the boulevards. I'm unsure of how much cost that would be. It would also depend on the weather, but it would be probably more significant cost than $600. Option number 4 is just for council to determine amount to credit all residents impacted from the project. And there's a total of 33 residents, and therefore you're actually treating everyone equally. That's another option for council to consider. Another option, and that I know another municipality does, is provide 1 kilogram of seed to each property owner for them to use at their own discretion. And to do that, the cost would be $924, unless per staff would purchase the bags and then deliver them to the residents. And then number 6 option is do nothing. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, questions for Mike on that report? Councilor Foster?
What's your personal recommendation?
My personal judgment is if council is wishing to do something, I'd like to see to choose option 1 and 2. Otherwise, we're setting a precedence here. I have received an invoice. This is probably another issue to discuss afterwards, but I have received an invoice from an individual, a resident, for $186.45. He's looking to be reimbursed for materials for him doing his own lawn after the fact this summer. My recommendation is that council do not proceed to pay this invoice as per past historical council decisions regarding these matters. So That
Other
is just my
questions?
opinion.
Counselor Deck?
With the 1 and the 2, do we run the risk of people obviously not taking care of it the way they should and then having more issues? That kind of, once we do it back to them, then that's on them and that's kind of the end of it.
I think we've now gone above and beyond our means. We've learned a lot in this initial project. On October 18th, we'll be discussing an environmental services of implementing watering, or asking our residents to water our reconstruction projects as being part of our operating procedures. That'll be discussed at environmental services. There is a lot of variation of what people did on this project. Some really looked after their lawns, some didn't. And that's why we're kind of in the situation that we're in.
Counselor Rose?
Mike, when you drive up the road, they all look fairly good right now. So is this, when you say about seating and that, is that for future things or is that still to do with this Nelson Street?
What I'm, this has been done at our golf course. What this overseeder is basically a machine that's it's a pull behind machine. It dethatches the grass. It also then slices the ground and then injects the seed. So then you can potentially get better growth and established grass to grow and take over the weeds. Is it the perfect solution? No. It's a good, the best solution in my opinion. When you do drive it, I know multiple counselors and myself and even Greg drove it today. It does look half decent. Is it perfect? No, but it's, you have to also remember it's 2 years after a reconstruction job that was, didn't receive much rain over that course of when we were trying to get grass to grow.
Counselor Duck again?
With the 1 and 2, what would the general timeline be? Like, would it be something we'd look to get done fairly soon, or would we have to push it off a bit, or? what would we look
My
at?
recommendation would be probably do it in October. Hopefully I can get the machine rental from Sunbelt Rentals and proceed from there. The watering, that's when weather will be fall conditions and hopefully we'll get more precipitation than sunshine. No, we want more sunshine, but it'll assist in the cost of watering.
Oh, Counselor Phelps.
The credit on water, so their bills will be looked at, because if someone didn't water their lawn or water that section, then are they get automatically, is everybody getting a credit, or is that a monitoring thing, or?
So I did drive-bys quite a bit for Henry and Georgina. About 3/4 of the people participated in watering their grass. The 3 commercial properties, 2 of them didn't receive any hydro seeding on Georgina. And the beer store on Henry Street didn't do any watering. To make it equal and fair for everyone, because everyone was handed the notice and we can't say if they did or did not water, everyone received the credit. So that $40 per month is an average.
So if we just recap what we did on Henry and Georgina Street. The letters went out and before the construction was happening and was indicated what we were willing to do. And it worked, I think, fairly well. They knew they were going to have a credit and we gave them 2 months credit, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so they got 2 months credit on their water bill. To the most part, I think everybody watered their boulevard. You know, I think they thought it was a good deal and they took ownership of it. And I guess what I'd like to see coming from this is that we do have a policy, as you kind of indicated, that we can go from here on in future streets in Mitchell when we reconstruct them, that we have this in place to encourage people to look after the boulevards. I think it's almost necessary, and we've seen the results when you have a program. But we still have to deal with this situation here. So we've actually seeded it right now 3 times, right?
Hydro seeded twice and yes, and seeded, overseeded once. Yes.
Now we did we did water it, but we had to hire a contractor to water it for us because we didn't have the manpower to do it, right?
The contractor on the second hydro seeding did hire a local contractor to water.
Okay. I'm just looking, and I think Mike's looking, we're all looking for some type of direction here, what you want to do. There's some different options there. Has everybody had a drive down Nelson Street to see what it looks like now? I'm opening up. I'm looking for some type of a suggestion here. Ryan?
I think I like the idea that Mike's presented. If we implemented 1 and 2, I think that kind of just takes care of it once and for all. I think people see that we're taking action when we're doing that. And then, you ask them to water it. It's not incurring them any extra cost. At the end of the day, they wanted their residents looking good. And I think this kind of solves that once and for all. So that's what I would suggest.
Any other comments to what Ryan has said? Dean?
Through you, your worship, my comments regarding the invoice for $182. I don't think the municipality would be out much to make an exception to pay the invoice this time because it's an exceptional circumstance. Recognizing that Mike said he's concerned about setting a precedent, but this has been an exceptional circumstance. So I think it would be appropriate in this situation to pay the $182 that the resident submitted to the municipality.
Councillor Phelps?
I would second both Dean and Ryan and what they said there. And let's put this to bed and get it over, and let's move on in the future with a policy in place and that we shouldn't be running into this, and let's put this one to bed and be done with it.
Okay. I guess, yeah, we'll break it up into, I think we'll break it up into 3. Dan, I think we've got the 2 that are here, Ryan's motion and Dean's motion. And then I would just like some type of staff direction from here on down that we have a policy in place for the future when we do road construction.
The policy will be in place. It's just the decision on the 18th will be a huge factor in the upcoming policy. It's pretty much done. If the Environmental Services Committee wishes to proceed with offering the water consumption credit to the residents, this will assist the contractors when they're bidding on the work, because this is their greatest concern, is the watering after the fact, because they're typically not local.
Okay. All right. Okay, any further discussion on this? Okay, so Ryan, will do yours first, I guess. So you want to move that, and you're saying option 1 and 2?
Yeah, I'd make it a combination of option 1 and 2.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Okay, Councillor Phelps. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. The second one then is Dean's, I guess, motion that we reimburse the one property owner. There may be others out there, but there's only one so far. Reimburse him. Dean, I think you're going to move that. And Doug, you want to second that, do you? Okay, any further discussion? Nicholas?
I'm not sure it's appropriate that we would reimburse a resident for taking care of the municipality's property or seeding or watering the municipality's property. In this case, the boulevard would be our property. There would be many other circumstances that we've considered in the past, as example, lawn cutting on our property, where a resident had offered to invoice us for lawn cutting on our property, and we had declined in the past, as an example, to take them up on that offer. So I don't think the care of our own property should be invoiced to us and paid. So I'd suggest that we not pay that invoice.
Okay, any other comments? Murray, go ahead.
Did they say for the invoice, for the amount, what did they do? Was it just the watering or extra seeding, or did they put extra soil down, or?
What they did is they did some premium garden soil. They laid 5 pounds of grass seed and they did 1 large bale of peat moss. And the total was for 186.45, not 182, just for clarification.
Right.
I was gonna ask, I don't know if it's even relevant or not, but was that just the materials, or is he built in some labor time in that too, or that was just for the,
I don't,
oh, he didn't provide receipts for the products he used or anything?
no, it's just a general invoice of just the materials. And I can't remember what the email stated to that Walter received last night regarding the invoice in the comments. I think he stated that he didn't also, in his invoice, he covered the labor.
I'm not sure.
charges.
I can't remember. I did copy that, and forward that to the Mitchell counselors, just so they'd have information to deal with it. Dean?
The fact that the resident applied seed and now we're proposing to, well, or we've endorsed the idea of seeding it again, kind of proves his point that it needed to be seeded. So that's why I think that the invoice has legitimacy, is he's already done what we just given staff direction to do. So that's why I feel that we should reimburse the resident. And as Councillor Phelps has said, let's move on.
The lawn repair that he did was just his front lawn from the sidewalk in. He didn't do the boulevard, just to be clarified.
So the invoice is for his own lawn, not the boulevard.
Correct.
Then I think that puts a little different light on things.
I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that. That's,
So I have to ask the question, was that repair necessary because of the work done on the street? Like thinking that the service had to be dug up and replaced?
yes.
Not that,
Yeah,
so that,
he was just unhappy with the outcome of the hydro seeding on his front.
well, again, so.
I know, I'm just,
Two
two
hundred,
separate issues.
$200 just puts it all to bed and we move on. It just, we're getting into the minutia here and we really need to get out of it. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments? Ryan?
I would just second Dean's motion to pay it back, gentlemen, or,
We've already got
oh,
it.
we have a second? My
We've got
apologies.
it. We've got it. Okay. First motion then, with regards to the policy that I want to see done, that'll happen. Do we need a motion, direction?
I think it's coming just from a procedural standpoint. I'll note that
Okay.
environmental services will recommend the policy to council for
Right.
a decision.
Okay.
Environmental services cannot adopt the policy.
Yeah,
correct.
okay. No, that's good, because I don't think we want to go down this road again. It's, we need something in place to address this, for future construction. Okay, so the first motion then, if you want to read it, Dan, got it there?
First one going back to options 1 and 2.
Yes.
correct? The council directs staff to proceed with options 1 and 2 for the boulevard restoration on Nelson Street.
Okay, all those in favor? Oh, we did? Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, so the second one then is, sorry about that. So the second one then is the reimbursement. And that was moved by Dean and seconded by Doug as well. So all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3. What are we missing here? We're not adding up right. Those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I've got more now this time. 7. Okay. You realize if you don't put your hand up, it's a no vote, eh? Okay, so that motion's carried. All right, I think that's got it, right? Anything else, Mike?
I just want to inform council that we just completed our inventory of non-compliance rural mailboxes since council then agreed to the new policy. And so just for a heads up that we'll be issuing nice polite letters to those 108 residents, informing them that they have a choice to And hopefully they move back their mailboxes and get into compliance with the Canadian Post rural mailbox standards and our policy as it relates. So in case you
Okay.
get asked.
Okay. All right, thanks, Mike. Okay, moving on. We've got a few items here to deal with Wendy, so you want to come up, Wendy? We got, I believe, what, 3 items? So the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mayor McKenzie, and evening council. So the first report I have is the 2023 reserve update. So just providing a review of the reserves and where they stand today. So we've done some entries based on the budget and entries based off of capital projects that have been completed to date. And so the report talks about some definitions just for clarity on what the funds are and what they mean. And then we did a budget snapshot, so that would have been a recap from the budget process. And then we did talk in the report about self-balancing departments, so that being the BIA, building, water and wastewater, just to give you an idea of where everything is sitting with that. And then we gave a table of what the actual reserves are looking at. That one is the budget one, the screen. The next one is the actual. So the reserves, as it stands now, you have 9 million in reserves. Reserve funds, you have 10 million. Obligatory, you have 1.1. And then the land, that's the Heron Business Park that's sitting in a negative. So as we sell, that will change to a positive. And then the government business enterprises Earth, that's sitting at 4.5 million. Give you a total of 24 million in reserves. If there's any questions on those, I gladly.
Okay, questions for Wendy on that? No questions? If not, then we do have a recommendation here that the municipality of West Perth received the 2023 reserve update information report. Moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Okay, and the next one is with asset management.
And I'm going to invite Brandon to come up. He does all the data entry for us for it. And so here, if there's specific questions on some of the content in the report, he's getting to memorize them. So I'm just going to high level review of it. In the report, we talked about the bridges. We did see some impacts from bridges from last year. We took off 6 county bridges and 2 MTO bridges. They shouldn't be in our inventory. Then there's a little recap about roads. So we're getting a roads need study that should be completed later this fall. That will have an impact on our asset and information because we're going to increase kind of the content of it. And then we've been working on some other ways to enhance the integrity of our asset registry so that we can lean on it for reporting. A recap of the furniture and fixtures in the report. It's going to be a new item for budget. So you'll see that come forward in capital budget. Basically, it's all the small content that is considered an asset, but we're going to pool it so we don't have to manage them individually. There's an item in there in the report about work in progress, just disclosing to council, we've got $2 million in that category. So that would be projects that are complete and we're just waiting for completion to put them on the books. So example would be Ketterson Pavilion. Project started last year, sits in work in progress. There's a highlight and some training options that Brandon's taking. And then GIS information, level of service, asset retirement obligation. And then there's an item about the gain and loss on disposal of assets that was brought forward from the financial statements. And so in looking at it, basically your bridges, when we took the 6 off, there was still value on the books. So that was the biggest contribution to the loss. So I think it was 374,000, made up of the 767,000 in the loss. And then the other parts were the reconstruction of Henry and Georgina. There was still value on the books when we disposed of those assets. And then we saw that there was a little bit left in recreation, library. That produced a loss. Have any questions specific to assets? Brandon's here. I can help answer any report.
Okay, questions for Wendy or Brandon? No questions? You must be just dazzling them here.
There's a lot of content in there.
How many streetlights do we have, Brandon?
Around the 8 hectare park.
Yeah.
Gotta do another check, update.
I come in here different times. One time when I was here, he was numbering all the streetlights that we have in Mitchell, or maybe it was West Perth, was it? Yeah, all of West Perth. Each has a number. And the next time, well, I think the first time it was bridges, and he went through all the bridges. Each bridge has a number, and he was doing that. So he probably, I call him the bean counter of West Perth. Wait, Dean, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, your worship. So question for both Wendy and Brandon. So with this asset management latest update, looking forward to the 2024 budget, we can have a sharper focus on prioritizing which assets need repair or replacement going forward. Like thinking back to the 2023 budget, we had postponed a lot of our road and bridge work and in-town sewer and water work to just get a better handle on the finances. But going forward, we should be able to zero in more concisely what we need to do going in the years going forward.
I would say that's our goal, is to get the asset management to that point. The integrity of the data is still, I would say it's increased quite a bit since the start. Having Brandon kind of itemize things, document it's for clarity for us has been great. We still have a bit to go. We still have water, wastewater, storm, hydrants, equipment. We're working our way through. There's, I think, over 5,000 items in the registry, and so going through them, we're methodically and strategically kind of breaking down to components that we can identify quickly, kind of see progress quickly, but there's going to be categories that are going to slow us down. So eventually our goal is to be able to use the asset management plan and software along with all the other analytic reports, and I would say OSIM report, your water financial plans, strategic plans, they should all be kind of part and built into your asset management.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, we do have a recommendation here that Council Municipality of West Perth receive the asset management information report. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Harold and seconded by Councillor Fournier. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, and now the tangible capital asset policy.
So this one is coming forward to be approved. It was brought forward to council on June 5th draft for comments. We haven't received any, so we're bringing it forward for approval. We recaptured some of the main points in the initial report in this report, just for clarity and ease of kind of going. You didn't want you to go back through, and then the policy has been attached. Any questions? I'll take it.
Okay, questions or comments from anybody? No? Okay. Recommendation is that the Council Municipality of West Perth approve the updated tangible capital asset policy. We have a mover and seconder for that, Councillor Rose and Councillor Chessel. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. One more.
So this one is to award the development charge background study. So this will be, I believe, the first time West Perth has put out a proposal for the DCs. We received 5 submissions. Staff went through them and reviewed them. We had a criteria for evaluation. It's listed in the report, but I'll highlight it. One was just an overview. One was their capability of doing it. Third was the plan, and fourth was price. We wanted to focus, put more evaluation on the plan, because we wanted to ensure we had a consultant that could kind of carry us through this legislative landscape, with the development charges changing. And there's a lot of new requirements, a lot of new approaches. So we wanted to make sure that the plan was heavily weighted versus price. And in looking at the table there, you can see we had a range of price all the way up to 80,000 to as low as $28,040. Our recommendation is to go with Watson's. They scored the highest. They definitely present a level of expertise in their staffing. They're going to provide 9 experts in their field. And also in their proposal, I've highlighted in the report, they're committed to providing general advice through the life of the bylaw, which can be up to 10 years. And they also will provide the indexing. We choose to index the DC. So that's all provided in their proposal.
Okay, questions for Wendy on that? Nicholas, go ahead.
Was the evaluation criteria clear to the proponents before the proposals came in?
Yep. So in the proposal, the evaluation was listed in, so they knew how it was going to be weighted. So they knew price wasn't.
And then secondly, the commitment to support the plan afterwards, that's included in the cost.
Yeah, so it ranged, so we got anything from nothing, no support after, to an hourly rate after, all the way to Watson's being fully supported. If it's something that needs to be documented, there will be a fee, but any general advice, support, contact is free.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, the recommendation here is then that the Council of Municipality of West Perth award the development charges background study to Watson and Associates in the amount of $35,000, excluding HST. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose, Councillor Phelps. Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. Very good. Okay, next, clerk's report, West Perth Transit Agreement. Floor is yours, Dan.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, Council. Before you tonight is a report outlining the West Perth Transit Agreement, and it may look familiar to you because it's back in front of you because ultimately I made a mistake. When I brought the agreement to Council, I had forgot to include the request for a cost of living allowance annual increase on the municipality's portion. As you may recall, we initially amended the agreement, added some clarity, and increased the municipal portion from $12,000 to $15,000 annually. As I said, the request from the committee was also to include a clause that would see that amount increase annually based on COLA. My recommendation to Council tonight is Council simply receives this request for decision as information. Ultimately, making no decision is making a decision in the negative. And I've outlined some other options for Council to consider as well, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Dan? I guess this is an observation, and I thought about it since we had it. We're a partner in the mobility bus amongst some other service clubs. but we were the only one that was asked for an increase. From 12 to 15, was it? None of the other partners in it were asked to contribute anymore. And I'm not sure the politics or the mechanics of it, why. But it does seem if we're all in this as a partner, that everybody should have had a similar increase. And so I agree with Dan's summation that to add a cost of living on top of it when everybody else is going to be froze at whatever it was, that just doesn't seem like a fair way to do things to me. But that's only my comment for what it's worth. Anyways, any other comments? Nobody wants to argue with me? Okay, the recommendation that we have is that the municipality of West Perth receive the West Perth Transit Agreement COLA request for decision report as information. Got a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose, Councillor Phelps. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. For CAO, but you're welcome to say a few words if you wish.
I don't have anything to offer.
No, that's good. Okay. So far, so good. Okay, good, good, good. We don't have any council reports at this time. We have 3 bylaws. Bylaw 51 is a bylaw to stop up and close Water Street. Bylaw 52 is the renaming of a highway or a street located in West Perth known as Dungy Lane, and we're changing that to Vivian Street. Bylaw 53 is a bylaw to exempt part lot control on a piece of property on Thames Ave that Andrew was here and we talked about that earlier. So the recommendation that I have is that the Council of Municipality of West Perth give first and second reading to bylaw 51, 52, and 53 this 18th day of September. We have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Councillor O'Donnell, seconded by Councillor Foster. Any further discussion on that? Andrew?
I'm sorry, I'm just wondering what to stop up and close means.
It means-
I was looking at the map and the street that we're closing appears to be the Duracell yard. It appears to be right where it goes through.
It's
Like there's no street there. Where do you close it?
it's close. Dan or Mike, I don't.
It's actually the other side of,
It's the other side?
of the river. So the road itself doesn't exist. It's just property fabric on a plan. That's all. We passed a bylaw.
We just.
And then
we just-
ultimately what we're doing is passing the bylaw, and then the remaining portions of that road will be treated as surplus lands.
Good question though, Andrew. Any other comments? Okay. We moved and second. We gotta have a vote on that. Yeah, okay. So all those in favor of that? Opposed, if any? That is carried. And then final one here is that the municipality of West Perth give third and final reading to bylaw 51, 52, and 53 this 18th day of September. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Fournier, Councillor Phelps. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Any announcements at this time? Coming events. I do have one item here. It's from the West Perth Village Board of Directors inviting to the official grand opening of their new long-term care home on Friday, October the 6th at 10:30 in the morning. It's a Friday, October 6th at 10:30 in the morning. And I guess if you are going, they would like you to contact them. Counselors are invited. I got the email to me and I said I would go, but I clarified that council was also invited if you wish to go. So that is that one. The other items here then and upcoming events then is The business retention and expansion that Justin talked about earlier tonight is at the golf course from 4 to 7 on the 20th, this Wednesday. September 30th is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. October the 2nd will be our next regular council meeting. Any other events? I don't think that come to mind. Any notices of motion? Any other business? Dean? Oh, yes, there was. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. So what I wanted to mention, just kind of wanted to circle back on our Housing Accelerator Fund application. We have made it, and Clerk Hobson has given us an update on it, and we're awaiting response to that application. But in the meantime, I guess it's my belief that it would be prudent for our council as well as staff to start discussion on creating our own community, West Perth Community Housing Plan and Policy. I know in the last term of council, I believe it was Councillor Vink had brought this forward as a notice of motion. And that's more or less kind of sat dormant for the most part. This Housing Accelerator Fund has kind of kicked the housing topic back into the forefront again. So regardless of what our application is dealt with by the upper tiers of government, our council as a group, along with staff, we haven't had a wholesome discussion or a fulsome discussion on the housing issue. And I'm thinking in terms of an overall scope and vision of what the plan should consist of, like what do we want it to look like? Nor do we have a corresponding overall policy or an implementation plan or anything that deals with a corresponding financial and asset management plan. And further, we haven't had any formal public engagement on the topic in a direct way. So I think it's my belief that as a council, we should kind of get started to address that, those things. I know staff probably has thoughts, perhaps they would be willing to share at this time, but in the future. I think it's a topic that we need to drill down on, like Wendy's presented an asset management plan that deals with the assets that we already have in the municipality. The county's presented made their presentation that the PC Connect that will be a financial consideration going forward, and so will housing. So with all these balls that we're juggling in the air, I just want to make sure that we give this one the attention that it needs, both in the current time frame and in the future.
Okay, thanks, Dean. I think, and Dan can maybe respond, but I believe that it's the intent of staff to do some work on it, and possibly we wait until they come back with a bit of a report, and then we could have that discussion maybe at that time. Dan, you can elaborate more if you wish.
Yeah, I think staff's plan as of right now, through our half application, we had outlined some key milestones for some of the projects. So this year we were anticipating releasing an RFP to develop the SIP, or the Community Improvement Plan. So that's something we are still working towards and hope to do. In addition to that, we can kind of piggyback a discussion on this following a letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs, looking for council to identify their top 5 recommendations. Our intent was to bring that to the next council meeting and kind of maybe facilitate the discussion for council a little bit on how we can move that forward and respond to the minister's request. If council had a more formal plan or more of a community engagement plan in place or in mind, we can certainly explore those avenues. But community engagement would certainly be part of the SIP process as well.
Okay, any further comments or questions, Dan, on that? Okay. We will look forward to see what comes back in the near future then. All right, we don't have a closed session tonight, Steve. So that brings us down to the confirmatory bylaw. And it's bylaw number 54, 2023, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Corporation Municipality of West Perth. We read a first, second time this 18th day of September. Mover and seconder for that, please. Councillor Phelps, Councillor Duck, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And then that bylaw 54, 2023, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth. We read a third time and finally passed this 18th day of September 2023. Moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And the final motion is that we adjourn at 8:40. Councillor Phelps, Councillor Fournier, all those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.